Imagine driving alone on a desolate highway in the dead of night, the kind of road where only shadows play tricks on your eyes. Now, imagine seeing a barefoot young girl waving for help only for her to vanish the second you turn back. This isn't a ghost story from a campfire. This is the chilling reality that began to unfold for Detective Laura Hayes on Arizona's Highway 64, a road where the missing don't just disappear, they seem to melt into the very air. Detective Laura Hayes, a seasoned veteran with 8 years dedicated to missing person cases across northern Arizona, thought she'd seen it all, but nothing in her career, no runaway, no abduction, no cold case, could have prepared her for the unfolding horror that began on Highway 64. This lonely stretch, weaving between the rugged beauty of Flagstaff and the majestic Grand Canyon, would soon become the stage for an enigma that defied logic. It all started with a report from a bewildered tourist couple. At 2 a.m., they witnessed a young girl, barefoot and clad in a dirty white dress, desperately waving for help on the roadside. She looked so vulnerable, the tourist recounted, their voice trembling with a lingering unease, like a lost spirit. Yet, in the mere seconds it took them to turn their car around, she had vanished, leaving only a lingering chill in the desert air. The following morning, Laura, ever the diligent investigator, scoured the area. She found small, undeniable footprints leading off the asphalt and into the unforgiving desert, stopping abruptly as if the child had simply evaporated. The evidence was perplexing, almost supernatural. What's more, cell tower pings from drivers over the past month revealed a disturbing pattern. Repeated 911 pocket dial attempts originating from the same half-mile radius. But when the calls were reviewed, there were no voices, just an unsettling silence punctuated by low breathing and faint rhythmic scratching. Local tribal police, their faces etched with a deep-seated respect for the land's ancient mysteries, offered a cryptic warning to Laura. Don't go out there alone after dark. Laura, a woman of science and evidence, respected their beliefs, but superstition wasn't in her lexicon, at least not yet. 3 nights later, back at the station, a chilling revelation emerged from the mundane review of traffic camera footage. As Laura meticulously sifted through dashcam submissions from various tourists, a terrifying consistency materialized. The same girl in different vehicles at different times, sometimes before midnight, sometimes past dawn, but always with the exact same unearthing expression, the same rigid posture, the same peculiar tilt of her head. It was as if time had no meaning for her. With a growing sense of dread, Laura enhanced a single frame, and what she saw made her stomach churn. The girl's eyes, wide and unblinking, were looking directly into the dashcam lens, even in footage where the car was approaching from behind. She knew, Laura murmured to herself, a cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. She was watching. Driven by an insatiable need for answers, Laura found herself back on Highway 64, alone. Near 1:30 a.m., she parked her cruiser at the exact mile marker where the girl had last been seen. The desert was an oppressive blanket of silence. No wind rustling through sparse brush, no nocturnal animals stirring, just an immense, suffocating darkness pressing in from every direction. The air grew heavy, almost electric. Suddenly, her radio crackled, not with static, but with a faint, childlike whisper that sent shivers down her spine. "I'm here!" Laura froze, her heart hammering against her ribs, scanning the empty road but saw nothing. Then, her headlights flickered violently, and for a terrifying split second, the girl appeared directly in front of her cruiser, her hair matted and wet, her bare feet streaked with blood, her eyes wide with an ancient terror like she hadn't slept in days, before vanishing again into the oppressive darkness. With her service weapon drawn, Laura stepped out into the desolate night, guided by faint footprints leading away from the asphalt and into the parched earth. The tracks led her to an old, rusted drainage culvert beneath the highway. From within she heard it, a muffled, heartbreaking sound of crying. Swallowing her fear, Laura crawled halfway into the narrow, claustrophobic tunnel and shone her flashlight. There, huddled at the far end, shaking violently, was the girl. "Are you hurt?" Laura asked, her voice tight with a mix of concern and burgeoning dread. The girl slowly, unnaturally slowly, lifted her head. Her voice, barely a whisper, was laced with an unsettling despair. "He won't let me leave." Laura took one more step, and her beam illuminated something horrifying behind the girl, a tall, impossibly thin figure crouched unnaturally, as if its body had been folded into itself. Its skin was stretched thin over long, spindly limbs, and its face was utterly featureless, save for a wide, cavernous slit where a mouth should be. The thing slowly opened its mouth, producing a faint, guttural clicking sound that echoed through the metal tunnel, seeming to come from every direction at once. Laura stumbled back, her hand shaking as she fired a warning shot, but the culvert seemed to swallow the sound, rendering it impotent. In that horrifying moment, the girl suddenly crawled toward her with an impossible, unnerving speed, her voice now deeper, guttural, a chilling growl. "Stay with us." Panic seizing her, Laura scrambled backward out of the culvert, adrenaline coursing through her veins, sprinting blindly toward where she had left her cruiser. But when she reached the road, a fresh wave of terror washed over her. Her cruiser was gone. The entire highway looked wrong. No lane dividers, no signs, no passing cars, just an endless, desolate strip of asphalt stretching into a pitch-black desert on both sides, as if the world had been erased around her. Her radio hissed with static, until a voice, eerily familiar, finally broke through. Her own voice, recorded earlier that very day, chillingly warning, "If you go alone after dark, you won't come back." The ground behind her shifted almost imperceptibly, and when she turned, the tall, featureless figure stood on the asphalt, completely still, observing her. At its feet, the girl crawled out from the darkness again, her eyes reflecting the weak, mocking moonlight. "Help me," she pleaded, but her mouth remained motionless, the words seemingly emanating from the very air around them. Laura ran blindly down the highway for what felt like an eternity, her lungs burning, her mind screaming for escape. Then, in the impossibly vast distance, headlights finally appeared. She waved frantically, desperately, and the SUV screeched to a halt just inches away from her. A family inside, their faces a mixture of concern and bewilderment, asked if she needed help. Laura threw herself into the passenger seat, gasping for air, but when the driver looked at her through the rearview mirror, his face drained of all color. "Ma'am, your cruiser, it's behind you." Laura turned, her breath catching in her throat. Her patrol car was parked safely on the shoulder, exactly where she'd left it, as if nothing had ever happened. The culvert was normal. The desert was normal. Everything looked precisely the same. Back at the station, the body cam footage from her terrifying ordeal revealed nothing of the creature, nothing of the girl, only Laura, walking alone, talking to an empty darkness. It was baffling, a cruel trick of the mind, or perhaps something far worse. But one detail, a single, horrifying anomaly, didn't match. In the final few seconds of the recording, just before the camera abruptly cut out, a small hand appeared on her shoulder from behind, a child's hand. Today, the Highway 64 department continues to receive new reports every week. Drivers frequently see a little barefoot girl waving for help at night. When they stop, she disappears, only to reappear in their rearview mirror, a fleeting, haunting image. And for those who don't stop, they sometimes hear a faint, persistent tapping on their window as they speed away, a rhythmic whisper on the glass. Every officer who works the case now refuses to investigate after dark. Every officer, that is, except Laura, because the last voicemail she received from an unknown number contained a child's chilling whisper, "You left me down here."